back, everybody. We are with Michael Potts to do our second race recap of the Chinese Grand Prix, and we have so much to talk about. It was a really exciting weekend, and also our first sprint weekend and the beginning of the F1 Academy season. So there was a lot going on. Michael, tell us about the vibe. I kept hearing a lot of comments from people around how the crowds and the fans were amazing. So what was this year's Chinese Grand Prix like?
It was mega. When we first came to China, it really felt like the crowds were sort of busting and giving flags to wave. Like it really felt artificial. Apparently now there's over 200 million Chinese Formula One fans, or people who identify as Formula One fans in China, which is it's vast. I mean, compare that to any other country, I think they must have the most fans. The race was a sellout. There's an interesting thing. I think it was around turn 13. There was these fake stands. They had these massive stands and they had these big Chinese letters on them, and they never had anyone in them. Well, they've knocked all the fake stands down. They've built real stands, and they've got real fans. And the buzz and the vibe was huge. I spent a lot of time in the fan zones, and yeah, it was some of the best support I've seen at a Formula One race.
Well, 200 million fans. I mean, there's not many countries with 200 million people in them. So that's incredible. So let's talk about the racing. Congratulations to Kimi. We're all so happy for him. I know he was talking about how, some of it was somewhat lucky with George and misfortune, but, he earned that first place and his first race. And I'm just so happy for him. He cried when he gave his interview. You just can't not love the kid.
Do you mean Kimi Räikkönen? Because so when he got announced on the podium, the announcer at the track goes, "And the race winner is Kimi Räikkönen." So he came out sort of totally confused. But yeah, it was brilliant for Kimi. I mean, he's the nicest kid, and it meant so much to him. His dad was there. His dad was on the grid with him at the start. And then when he won the race, he went straight to his father and gave him a massive hug. It was beautiful that Lewis and George were both on the podium at the same time. I think there's a little bit of cheekiness between Toto and Lewis. It looked like Toto was saying, "Look, the kid's better than you. He's won a race and you haven't." Something like that. But Toto was loving it. It's one of those feel-good moments in the sport, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer.
I also love that Bono was on the podium with Kimi, and then Lewis was there. It just looked like a little reunion, and they were just all so happy to be there. And yeah, I think the Lewis and Kimi relationship is just the cutest. Almost like Lewis is more excited for Kimi than Kimi is when he was the youngest person that got pole and setting records, and Lewis is pumping him up, and Kimi just looked kind of shy. But yeah, he did such a good job. He gave himself that heart attack at the end with the lockup. It was the second to last lap or something. And I think at that point, all the drivers were on their tires for such a long time and really having to coax them to get home. But it was so exciting.
He really did earn that victory. I mean, he had to get past Lewis to win the race. So, it wasn't just a win it from pole situation. He went out there and he won that race.
The Ferrari battle, what did you think about the Lewis and Charles battle? Over many laps, the cat and mouse. It was so good to watch.
That battle between Lewis and Charles, it was epic. I haven't seen racing like that in Formula One for a very long time. These new cars look so much more nimble. They look so much more pointy when they go into the corners. They can follow a lot closer. It's very, very exciting to watch. And that was brilliant racing. And they didn't tangle. They didn't crash. So they fought aggressively, but they respected each other, which was great to see.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if Ferrari was going to get on the radio and tell them to just relax, because I guess with them fighting each other, they weren't really making progress against George and Kimi up front because they were fighting each other. But it was nice to see them race. And I think Charles came on the radio and talked about how much fun that was and he really enjoyed it, which kind of leads me to my next question, because we keep hearing Max talk about how horrible these regulations are, that this isn't real racing, that this is not what F1 should be like. And then on the flip side, you have Kimi, George, Lewis, and Charles who are at the front, and they're talking about how fun it is, how it feels more like go-karting, and it's, so much more interesting to have all these on-track battles. So is Max not liking it because he's not winning, or he's actually not liking this style of driving?
He definitely doesn't like the style of driving. I think it's asking too much to do. There's too many artificial variables for his liking. So you've got the cornering and straight mode, you've got the boost button. So you've got all these little gizmos and gimmicks that you can make the car go faster, not through the skill of the driver necessarily. So if you think back to the old V8s, V10s, where you put your foot down and you drove it as fast as you could, and it was the bravest person in braking going into the corner, the fastest person to accelerate out the corner. That was what a racing driver was. Now it's about managing that electrical energy, knowing when to deploy it. Yeah, it's a lot more technical in a way that he doesn't think is racing. Also, he's not winning. And it is a bit surprising because Red Bull looked really, really good in testing. And yeah, they've struggled in these two races.
They have. They've struggled both reliability wise, and I don't think Max has figured out the starts yet. He's gotten really bogged down in both Australia and then Shanghai. You could see him on the replays, all the cars passing him. And I can just imagine him steaming in the car.
Especially at this one, because the McLarens didn't start. So he had an open spot right in front of him. And normally, if you'd given Max an open grid spot at the start, he would be gaining places. He'd be overtaking people at the start. And instead, he was going backwards. So yeah, you could understand his frustration.
Well, let's talk about some of the other teams that had great weekends. So, of course, Ollie in Haas, P5, he did awesome. And then we have Alpine. Like, I can't believe we're actually talking about Alpine. Both Franco and Pierre in the points. And I don't think Colapinto's had a point since when he did the stand-in for Williams when he first started, right?
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, he was up to second at one pace or third at one point. Obviously, the safety car, and he stayed out and he got track position for that. It was a really, really good weekend for Alpine. A little bit sad because, he had that little tangle with Ocon, and apparently some of his fans have been giving Ocon death threats. It's sad because Franco is an amazing guy. There are so many amazing Argentinian fans. This is a couple that kind of make it a bit weird for him.
Yeah, but I'm so glad to see him in the points. And same with Carlos. Williams are definitely struggling, and Alex didn't even start the race, but Carlos did come in ninth. Granted, both Carlos and Franco were in the points, but they were one lap down, which I thought was also insane for that big of a spread from first to 10th. Yeah, Williams, do you think they just got lucky this race?
I think they got a bit lucky. They were both out in Q1. So they haven't had a chance to fix the overweight issue in the car. They had a really bad start to the season, but it was a mega drive by Carlos. I mean, to have that sort of level of difficulty and to still score points, behind him were two cars that should have been faster than him. Franco and Ocon should have been ahead of him. Yeah, it's a very, very good result.
I think Williams can, maybe find some solace that they're not the only team that's struggling. There are many teams that are trying to play catch up to Mercedes and Ferrari. We had four drivers didn't even start the race, like both McLarens, two different electrical issues. Bortoleto, obviously Alex Albon. I was in shock when McLaren both did not start the race. And that's now Oscar's second did not start back to back. That's like unheard of.
Yeah, it's going to really mess with his stats at the end of his career because, you have your race starts and how many races you've completed, and to get 2 DNSs, it's pretty bad. It was kind of weird. Lando didn't even make it out of the garage. He didn't make it to the formation lap. And Oscar was on the grid, but then they pulled the car in from there. So, yeah, very, very worrying for McLaren. Another team that aren't particularly happy with the new rules. Whenever you have a new set of regulations and a new bit of technology, there's always going to be these mechanical issues. And they do kind of throw up some unusual results. So it's not terrible. The reliability we had at the last rule cycle was insane. So, yeah, a little bit of mechanical variation is fun.
Definitely. And we also, of course, have to celebrate Lewis's first podium at Ferrari. He seemed pretty, I don't know, he didn't really seem like over the top. He seemed like he was more happy that Kimi won his first race than he was that he got his first podium at Ferrari. But things are looking up for Ferrari, that is.
Yeah, they did ask him where this podium fitted in his however many 100 podiums he's had. And he was very happy about it. His mum was there, and that was very, very cute. She was on the starting grid. I've got this picture of her with the whole Ferrari team. She's right in the middle. His mum was there all weekend and was in the pen when he was celebrating his qualifying results and the race results. Yeah, great to see her.
I think he needs to bring her more often because clearly she is a good luck charm. And I know it was also Mother's Day in the UK, so that was just so sweet that they, he was like, we're spending it together. Michael, did you have a chance to watch the F1 Academy race as well while you were there?
I did a bit. So I got the start of the sprint race. It's a whole new season for F1 Academy. We've got new drivers. People have changed teams. The racing looked really, really good. Compared to where it was last year, it's really sort of stepped a big notch in terms of quality. Very exciting to watch. If you do get a chance, watch the highlights from the F1 Academy race. brilliant. What did you think?
Yeah, no, there are something crazy, like 11 of the 18, well, really 17 drivers, because there's one wild card, are rookies. So 75% of the grid have just started in F1 Academy. So the 6 drivers who are doing their second year, I think, have a really big leg up. And Alicia Palmowski, who I love, the Red Bull Academy driver. I think she is definitely going to be in the running to win the championship. But there is an American girl, Peyton, that I think, was on the podium for both of the races. So I think she's definitely one to look out for. But it's cool to see some of the new brands entering F1 Academy. I'm just so obsessed with Sephora starting with F1
Yes.
Academy and just seeing the livery on track. Like, Susie's doing such an incredible job. And we get to meet all these girls, and it's like really cool.
Yeah, the way it's been presented and the way it's brilliant. It's by far the best put together feeder series in the whole of kind of single seater racing. I'm super impressed with it. But the girls looked so young. Like the crop of new girls looked like, I don't know. I know they're teenagers, but they look really young.
Yeah, I think they're all like 16, 17, 18, That's so cool that they have this opportunity. The last time we talked, Michael, we were chatting about what was going to happen with the upcoming Middle East races. And looks like they have decided to cancel both and not replace them with other locations. Were you surprised, or you were expecting that news?
I was expecting the cancellation. I mean, this war that's going on is horrific, and there's no way that we can think about going motor racing. We even have that conversation about motor racing when people's lives are in danger in the area. So it was the right thing to do to cancel it. I was a bit surprised that they didn't try and find alternatives. I think logistically it probably just became too difficult. Imola you could do. They have an event very, very close to when Formula One wants to do an event. Portimao is in a similar situation. So there wasn't an easy drop-in solution. And actually, I think probably for Formula One, it could be quite a good thing because it gives all the teams an extra 2, actually 3 weeks in the factory to really work on these cars. They've got a lot of data from the first 3 races. They can use that to improve them, and hopefully they'll make the racing a little bit closer when we go to Miami.
Right. Yes, Miami. Can't wait for that race.
But Miami is also a sprint race, so it's very, very difficult to bring upgrades to a sprint race. It makes it more exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So going into Japan, there's now 2 weeks before Japan. Are we going to see some upgrades going into that race?
Possibly. There were upgrades at this one. I think about 6 cars brought minor upgrades. Japan is a different style of track. So a lot faster corners. They've probably already developed components for that. So generally the rear wing gets a bit smaller, the front wing gets a bit smaller. So we might see changes like that. But yeah, it's a different style of track compared to the ones that we've been at already. Hopefully Ferrari will bring their Macarena rear wing out.
Yes, I thought they were supposed to do that in Shanghai, but then they weren't confident in the reliability that would last the whole weekend. So they decide not to, but I hope that we see that too. And I know Japan is a driver favorite in terms of racetrack and obviously place to go to. Should we do a prediction?
Yes, but there's one thing to keep in mind. Apparently it's extremely cold in Japan at the moment. So I'm expecting cold, wet, grey skies. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But yes, let's go for predictions.
So it's going to be cold. You said fast corners, which Ferrari is very good at. I'm just going to shoot for the stars. I'm going to go for Ferrari 1-2. Charles, Lewis, George.
Yeah, that's. I think George is going to come back. I think he's going to get a win here. Yeah, there's not really those long straights in Suzuka. The Mercedes are definitely faster than Ferrari on the straights. Ferrari are faster in the corners. But I think the whole overall of the track is a very, very fast one. So I think George is going to have the advantage. And I'm going to go for George, Kimi, and Charles.
Okay, well, I hope that this entire season we're not going to just change the order of these 4 drivers, and we'll hopefully be able to pull some others in as other teams catch up. But yeah, we'll see. And hopefully our track record for predictions gets better.
We're in the ballpark. We're not making the numbers, the right positions, but we're definitely in the ballpark. I guess you're choosing between 4, so it's not that difficult.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching our Chinese Grand Prix recap, and we can't wait to see you again in a couple of weeks when we do Japan. So until then, bye.